The story is about a teen discovering her mother made her disabled with pills. Doctors and nurses struggle to revive someone. Diane lies in a hospital bed, crying and wringing her hands. When they arrive to retrieve her, she is peering into the incubation machine at the smallest baby, a preterm girl. Diane tears as she stares at the baby. She inquires,
"Will she be okay?"
When nothing is spoken, she turns behind her and recognizes their features. Diane is at a support group where we hear parents talking about missing their children.
For breakfast now.
We assume that this group is for bereaved parents, and the initial scene contributes to that idea. So when the lady explains that it's natural for the parents to feel upset about letting go, we know it's a homeschool group that's having difficulties dealing with letting their kids go to college. Diane is so confident when she says she's looking forward to doing all the things she hasn't been able to do, like dates and trips and living her own life. Everyone is horrified, but we don't care because we won't see them again. Back at home, Chloe, yes, baby Chloe, has arrived in person and is just getting out of bed. She's grown. She pushes herself into a wheelchair alongside the bed, takes several drugs, and vomit up. She is a pretty little girl who appears to be content in general. Being a preemie may lead to a variety of medical difficulties, which Chloe is now coping with. She suffers from a variety of diseases and has developed a mature approach to managing them. She gets ready, rolls herself to her stair lift, and descends to visit Diane. Diane is the supportive mom and gets Chloe started on her schoolwork. Chloe is anxiously awaiting an acceptance letter to college and checks the mail frantically every day. Her mother always gets it first and tells her that she would be the first to know if a letter arrives from Washington State, Chloe's preferred school. They appear to have typical days just like you and me, but this is a movie, so don't get too comfy. Diane comes home from the shop with mail, still no letter, and encourages Chloe to calm down. She puts the goods down and proceeds to relocate her car. Chloe steals some candy from the bag and conceals it before her mother can return. Chloe has a number of health challenges, one of which being diabetes, so the candy is a rare treat. She becomes a little skeptical when she discovers some tablets bearing her mother's name while searching for the chocolates. Is her mother having problems? Later that night, when her mom gives her the nightly meds, she gives her one of the pills that Chloe saw in the bag. When Chloe asks about it, her mom says they aren't hers. Chloe pushes and mom plays it off well, saying, "My name's just on the receipt. They're yours." "Okay, yeah, okay." It appears like we have reached the point in our film where the tale truly begins. Something isn't right with this cheerful little home. I wouldn't say happy, it's not horrible, but there isn't much to it, it's simply there, basic if you will. Diane sneaks down the basement when Chloe is sleeping and views home footage from when she was younger and capable of walking. She appeared healthy, what happened? Mom leaves the next day, and Chloe remains intrigued about the pills. Something is odd about her. She has no internet connection, no smartphone, and is completely isolated from the rest of the world, which Diane prefers. When she finally gets the bottle off the shelf after much creative maneuvering, we see that her mom has placed a tag over her name that says, Chloe. This makes Chloe even more curious. That evening, Chloe waits until her mother goes to bed before logging on to try to find out what the pill is. But the internet is down. It's really unsettling to see her mother monitoring her while seated in the shadows. Her mother questions how she even realized the internet was down while feigning to contact for an internet repair. Chloe pulls it off fairly well, telling her that she was searching for information on how to fix her printer. In essence, both mother and daughter are deceiving one another, the former for survival, and the latter, we assume, for protection. The film seems to be changing, and it's now more of a cat and mouse game. Chloe sees her mom in the yard watering the garden and attempts to make a call about the pills. She's still consumed with them and what they are for. This is so intense because we're watching Diane and then the phone, then back to Diane, and the tension is crazy high. Diane briefly disappears, but it works out since Diane is still working. The man on the other end of the line thinks Chloe is crazy, but he still decides to assist her. After some back and forth, he asserts that if those are the drugs she ought to be taking, the tablet should be red rather than green and that it heals heart problems. However, they're not. Chloe is now aware that something is very off. They haven't seen a movie in a long, Chloe says during dinner, which gives them more leeway and opportunity to explore. Diane takes the bait, and the next evening they are going to the movies. At the movies, Chloe says she's going to the bathroom. This would be true if the bathroom was outside and across the street from the drugstore. She cuts the line and speaks with the pharmacist about the drug. She had to fabricate a detailed tale to obtain the information because the drugs are in her mother's name. It's taking forever, and the stress is increasing. We'd all assumed the pharmacist would just tell her mom. Small town and all. But Chloe eventually persuades the pharmacist to give her the information. She learns that the medications are for the household dog. They don't own a dog. If administered to a human, the tablets will cause paralysis of the legs, thus crippling them. Chloe gets a serious asthma episode. Yes, Chloe has asthma as well and can't be without her inhaler. Of course, she doesn't have her inhaler, and she's in the middle of a fit when her mom walks in and makes it worse, all the while making it seem to the bystanders that she's the caring, protective mom. When no one is watching, Diane gives Chloe a shot and knocks her unconscious. Diane is now panicking. Chloe awoke in her room. Things don't appear out of place, but Chloe feels strange. She is terrified, to say the least. And she plays insanely well, so we all expected something like this. Chloe wheels herself to the bedroom door, which is locked. This confuses her and prompts her to phone her mother. No one responds. So Chloe looks out the window and notices her mother's vehicle is gone. This is her chance to flee. Chloe is intelligent and resourceful, if nothing else. She hooks numerous electrical wires together, forms a rope of sorts, and grabs a "this is so hard to watch." This poor crippled girl will have to use every bit of strength in her arms to drag herself across the top of the roof to the other side of the house to her mom's window. She is sweating profusely, and her feet frequently slide off the roof. She's breathing heavily, and we know her mother will be home any moment. This is nerve-wracking to watch. Chloe approaches the window and uses her tool to fracture it, breaking the glass. She manages to crawl inside, but she has forgotten her inhaler, and she is now having a full-blown asthma attack. She is struggling, and the fight for freedom has turned into a battle for survival. She will need to return to her room, open the door, and locate her inhaler in her table drawer before passing out or dying. The comfort of that inhaler struck us all just as she realized the door was stuck closed from the outside. She knows it's game on. Chloe is a fighter, and she will fight no flight here. Chloe will get her chair and make her way to the stair assist and realize her mom has cut all the wires to it, as well as the phone wire being cut. She'll load her chair upon it and shove it over the other side. It lands near the bottom of the steps, and we all hope it isn't damaged. She then rushes herself down the steps, causing a catastrophic fall. So Chloe and the chair are at the bottom of the stairs, weary and terrified. She lies down for a bit to collect her breath before realizing she can move her toes. She had stopped taking that particular drug many days ago, and the consequences are now apparent. What else does Chloe actually not require? Has she been faking all of her symptoms for years? You can tell she's thinking about it all. This motivates her to get up and keep fighting. She gets in her chair and rolls herself out of the house and down the road. They live in the middle of nowhere, of course, exactly how her mom needed to live to work out her horrific plan. She's speeding down the road when she notices a vehicle approaching and flees into the woods. She recognizes Tom, the mailman, but she's stuck. Oh, not now. She breaks loose and virtually rides directly in front of the vehicle. Tom nearly kills her but manages to stop just in time. She confesses that her mother is abusing her, and she badly needs assistance. Tom is perplexed, but he has no reason to question her. They are talking about this as her mother comes up behind them. Tom walks around and tells Diane that he is bringing Chloe to get therapy since he knows she has been harming her. Diane, of course, lies and claims Chloe's medications are driving her insane and that she needs to get her home. But Tom is a smart guy and says no. Diane says, "Can I follow you to the hospital then?" He agrees and then asks Chloe, "Hospital or police?" She says, "Police." Tom helps Chloe get inside the vehicle, but Diane creeps up behind him and drugs him. Chloe has also been drugged since she wakes up in the basement. She's never been here before, and she's bewildered. Chloe glances around and begins to recover her bearings. On the table next to her is the admission letter from Washington that she had been waiting for. She is angry by this and the degree of betrayal on so many levels. She sees a box on a shelf and crawls over to it and takes it down. It has pictures of a healthy, walking Chloe as a child. She seemed cheerful. She continues searching and discovers a death certificate for Chloe, the Chloe from the opening of the film. the poor darling preterm baby who died after only 2 hours and 11 minutes. The room begins to swirl, and Chloe is very terrified. Then she discovers a newspaper article about a baby who was taken from a hospital on the same day that Chloe died. OMG, did you see it coming? Because I didn't. Diane was in the hospital around 18 years ago, weeping. She isn't herself, and she's a zombie as she looks at the newborns in the nursery. She sees a sweet new baby girl in the window, and the rest, they say, is history. Fast forward to 18 years later, and that little girl was locked in the basement realizing she's been raised by a different kind of crazy. Diane enters and attempts to explain herself, but Chloe is not having it. She also doesn't trust Diane when she says Tom, the mailman, is simply sleeping in the other room. Diane begs Chloe to let them start anew together. She claims she has always cherished and protected her, and she intends to continue doing so. She fills a vial with what seems to be chocolate milk and claims that taking the drug will make her forget what occurred. Chloe tries to escape briefly and discovers some poison on a shelf. Diane's personal pharmacy is similar to the room she is in. She's been mixing and making meds for some time. When Diane finds her with it, she loses her mind and starts begging her not to hurt herself. Diane is holding her, terrified, as she coughs up blood and dies. Tom slept through it all. When Chloe wakes up again, she is in the hospital, and a nurse is working on her, but she is unable to communicate. She has been intubated. After an interminable wait, she persuades the nurse to bring her paper and pencil. Diane is in the hallway, being told by the physicians that Chloe is on suicide watch, cannot leave the hospital, and must stay for assessment. We know Diane can't let this happen because she'll be found out. Diane glances in on Chloe and then at the nurse, and we can tell she has an idea. Meanwhile, Chloe is frantic to write and get control of her cognitive skills. Well, just about this time, the nurse and the whole hospital get a code blue siren, and everyone is running around and rushing to the emergency. So now we know Diane has probably killed someone else. She pulls Chloe out of the room and onto a wheelchair, then hurries her around the hospital to avoid being discovered. They find Chloe absent from her room and the word "Mom" scrawled on the notebook she left behind. They're hurrying around, and Chloe is attempting to signal for assistance, but she's nearly immobilized. When they hit a dead end in the hospital at the top of a lengthy flight of stairs, Diane tries to take Chloe down regardless. They refuse to move, despite the fact that it is their only route out. Although the wheelchair appears to be stuck, it is not. Chloe has enough strength in her legs and feeling in her toes to keep the chair locked in place. When Diane learns she is trapped, she grabs a revolver and prepares to shoot the security guards encircling her and Chloe. They shoot her first, and in slow motion, it appears like she is about to shoot Chloe, but she loses her balance and falls to the bottom of the steps, broken and still. Could you picture Chloe's relief? We'll see Chloe again 7 years later, on a dreary and wet day outside a women's incarceration institution. She uses a wheelchair but can also walk. So this is a little perplexing since she was strong enough to stop Diane from moving her wheelchair at the hospital years ago. And now she's still using it and can only walk a little. She's wearing a ring, and we'll find out she's married with a child. She seems to know the staff, and by this, we gather that she comes to this place often. She carefully rolls herself into a room where she discovers her mother Diane, who appears to be dead. She informs her that her daughter spent the weekend with her parents, who all seem to be signs that she has located her biological parents. Diane is limited to listening. She remains still. Chloe coughs out drugs she was hiding in her mouth that were wrapped in plastic. Diane is terrified when Chloe eventually says it's time for her to leave.
I love you, Mom. Now open wide.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you next time.